Hi, this is Jason Furman again. And a couple of the things we're going to talk about right now are not my own original ideas, but are ones I like to reinforce with my students. This is actually John Riley's approach to getting people to feel more confident and feel better about playing swing time and the swing pattern. And the bebop concept is the quarter notes stay strong, as we talked about in how to approach just jazz ride cymbal. Right? So, but getting the feel of this music and the pattern itself can tend to be a little bit difficult. Now, the first thing he does is have you verbalize. And I suggest singing and playing is a concept that should be reinforced and used constantly in order to become more connected with your drum ideas and making them musical. So what he has you do is sing the triplets, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. But what you're going to do is accent the let of the triplet, the third note of the triplet, vocally. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, while playing the ride cymbal pattern. So what you get is the bouncing swing approach from your voice to the strong quarter notes in the ride cymbal. So you get this. Let, 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 let. Now what eventually you do, by also adding feathering in the bass drum, which is something we'll talk about in another video series, is you want to transfer that to the left hand. And you have the 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. You're essentially going to make yourself a shuffle. But you're going to play what you've been vocalizing in your left hand and feel physically the bouncing swing approach between the two limbs. A little bit faster. And once you get comfortable with this, you should start to be able to internalize the feel and moving on to your comping phrases. Now, one thing I always want to stress when playing jazz time, especially if you come from more of a backbeat background in your drumming already, the tendency to have the snare drum and bass drum as primary voices is what you've been doing in backbeat music. But in playing straight ahead jazz, the two primary elements are your ride cymbal and your hi-hat. So if you're right-handed, your right hand and your left foot. Now what you do in your left hand and your right foot are not secondary, but they should be considered underneath and additions to the time. So as I always tell all my students, no matter if they're 10 or they're grad students, that hearing your ride cymbal is you have to convince everyone in the band that the time is coming from here. Don't rely on your snare drum and bass drum as your primary sources of time. So as we go through any of these comping things, make sure this is strong first. See you in the next video series of comping and simple solo.